Welcome to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I believe every man has the potential to push past his limits and strive for something greater. Whether you're a former athlete who is looking for what's next, a professional pushing through the daily grind, or someone simply ready to break through life's toughest challenges, if you're ready to step into the pursuit of something more, your pursuit begins now. Hey, welcome back to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin, and today we have Kyle Luebeck joining us. Kyle, before we dive into your story, hey, a few sports questions for you. First one, favorite all-time sports team?
It's got to be the Celtics, back with Larry Bird and that whole crew. So that was fun to watch as a kid, and that's what got me excited about basketball when you're a youngin' hoping to be under the flashing lights one day. So
here we go, the Celtics. How about your favorite all-time player?
It's got to be Larry Bird. I'm sure a lot of people say Jordan and all those guys, but he was a good team player and selfless with the ball, in my opinion, and that's what helped lead him to championships.
All right, there we go, Larry Bird. And how about your biggest highlight sports in high school or like in college?
Yeah, I was blessed to grow up in a town, Braham, Minnesota, small little farm town, and we ended up going on and winning 3 state championships. We were able to do it with a sophomore crew our first year, and then able to keep the same starting lineup for the next 2 years after that. So we were able to take home 3 in a row, and that was a magical time. It brought the town together. It brought a sense of community, and it's, I think, still carrying on to this day. Even as I continue to age, it's fun to reminisce. So,
oh, that's awesome. And you think about just trying to get to the state tournament, but to get to the state tournament and win it not only once, but twice, but 3 times in a row, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing. That leads right into you growing up in Braham, Minnesota. And just share with us some of the maybe challenges, highlights. You already shared some highlights, but some of the challenges, highlights along the way growing up in Braham, Minnesota.
Yeah, it was a wonderful town. Hindsight's always 20/20, I think, in all of our lives in a lot of areas. And it was a close-knit, small farm town. And looking back on it, it was just very clear how much everyone cared for each other. You don't appreciate it in the moment. When you're in a small town, you always want to escape and go to the big city. And I did that for a little bit. And now I just wanted to get back to the small town feel where everyone takes care of each other. And so growing up there, we had an absolutely amazing basketball coach, Robert Vaughn. The way he coached and his style in the moment, you thought he was just being hard on you and unfair. And you look back and you go, not only was he teaching you basketball, but there was a lot of life lessons in that. And he never stopped working for us kids. And he's a very special person to me in my life. And I'm grateful to know him and hope to see him again here soon.
Yeah, he is in Minnesota basketball.
Yeah.
What about I know you grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
Just share with us a little bit about that, because there's some people on this podcast, they grew up in the inner city, they grew up in a city, maybe have never been on a farm before.
Yeah, you miss some of the outside activities, but you're not missing much when it comes to work. I remember picking rock in the field for the hay, and I was in a hybrid situation. So we'd rent out the fields, but we had to prep them for the farmers. We had horses and chickens and all that kind of fun stuff. So it was a balance between a pretty heavy athletic schedule. One summer, I remember we paid almost 320 games in one summer. And that was also holding down a job and working on some of the fields. So it was a busy life, but I think that kept our nose to the grindstone. You know, you made good friends and they grow up together, and the same crew of kids. I remember growing up all the way through 2nd grade, all the way through graduation. It was always the same 52 kids in my grade. So you had to like each other. You couldn't hide in the masses.
And that's so true.
We always tried to meet gals from neighboring towns, right? That was the thing. So
yeah, you can't hide from 52.
Yeah,
maybe 552, maybe, but 52.
Yeah, I hear some of these bigger schools down the cities with 1,000 kids. I'm like, that was our whole town.
Share with the listeners a reason. I know beyond Braham, you choose in St. Olaf to go play basketball, and just share with us some of the highlights, but maybe some of the challenges attending St. Olaf. And
yeah, going to Braham, I had a pretty good GPA. My mom is credited with keeping me on the straight and narrow. I had zero interest in school. I had a knack for guessing the right answer in a lot of classes, and that put me in a position to be able to go out and have some looks at colleges. And again, I was surrounded by Coach Vaughn, who put my name out there for some recruiting opportunities. And I went out and toured a bunch of colleges. And the second I walked on St. Olaf, I just loved the feel of it. I was going for economics, and I enjoyed talking through the counselor over there, and ultimately made the decision to go there. It was a wonderful campus. Obviously, to get into the school it's got some metrics that are a little harder than some of the other colleges I was looking at. And looking back at myself, I don't think I was mature enough to make that decision. I don't think I should have been in charge of that, or maybe even explored it. I ended up going to St. Olaf. I was recruited to play basketball there. I ended up playing 1 year there, and then made the decision to step away from the basketball scene. In my head, I was a little burnt out. I wanted to have the college experience. And as much as I hate to admit it, Van Wilder had come out around then, Animal House. And so there was just this vision of what the type of college experience I wanted at the time. Again, freely admitting I probably wasn't the most mature person at the time. And when you stop playing sports and stuff, you don't get quite as many scholarships and things like that. So I had to make a financial decision to look around. I ended up chasing a girl down to Winona, and so transferred down there. Had an opportunity to play down there, but again, like I said, I made the decision that I was burnt out of basketball. It was just a lot. It was great. I look back, I definitely regret making that decision, but you got to live with those decisions you make in the moment, and it's something you hopefully grow off of. Ended up meeting my wife down there, huge blessing. So met her, and as I was finishing up college, she was finishing up her master's program, and we ended up getting engaged. So that was a blessing in disguise. I would have never met her if I hadn't made that decision. But
hey, share with the listeners about, we had talked a few weeks ago about Camp Mississippi, or camping down by the Mississippi. The listeners have to hear this story.
Yeah. My wife, thankfully, evens me out. I'm one of the more frugal people you've ever met. And so I decided I didn't want to pay rent. So I just decided to camp on the side of the Mississippi River for about 3.5 months. It was during that time I met my now wife. And at the end of the summer, she said, okay, it's time for you to have a roof over your head, or this probably isn't going to work out. So I had to go back to renting in college. It was a wonderful summer, and there's so many good memories. There's nothing I look back that I'm disappointed in, but definitely say that my maturity level during that period of my life, I'm not overly proud of. I think I didn't take college as seriously as I could have. My effort in that space, I didn't get involved in a lot of things because I grew up in a household where you work, right? You get up early, you work until the job's done, you go to bed, and then you start over the next day. I had 2 loving parents, but they worked very blue collar jobs. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, best mom on the planet, but I just aspired for more. And in my mind, you got more by putting in more hours. And I had to really figure out what my future was going to be, because I didn't appreciate college at the time. I think I missed out on some opportunities for academic and personal growth. And so I'm fully making up for that now and studying every chance I can get. But during that period, it was 2 young pups that were getting together. Me and my wife got engaged and just figuring out life when we graduated. So
now we talked about, you said something about 750 in your pocket, 782 in rent. Can you kind of share about that? And then engaged and looking for a job in 2008.
Yeah, when we graduated, we moved up to the cities. I had quit a job I'd been working down there and started in my new role in the investment industry. And I had $750 in my pocket, and I signed a lease for $782. So I had to make $32 that month so that I could keep my apartment. And at the moment, my wife hadn't had a job yet. So we were living about as lean as a human being could live. And thankfully, my parents were gracious enough to buy us some groceries and some gas money and stuff. So I'll forever be grateful and pay them back for that. So it was a good learning experience, but I'm grateful for it, because struggling definitely pushed me. I saw some of my friends get in a situation where they got out of college, they got back into the old habit of being at mom and dad's house and not really leaving the roost. And I think that really hindered them in their growth. And you got to struggle and climb out of it on your own. And that was not a fun time. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but I'm glad I went through it.
Story continues. Share with the listeners, now you're working in Bloomington at a firm, so share with us about that for 9 years, and eventually that process of eventually you breaking off from the firm and then completely this full ownership of your firm, I believe in 2020.
Yeah. So I started in the finance industry, started working for a big box shop. It's actually helping. I thought I had my whole life planned out. The company I was working for, I was working up the ranks and went to a college career fair to help my friend who didn't have a job coming out of college, and he didn't know how to talk to recruiters or even fill out a resume. I remember it was a piece of paper with one sentence on the top of the thing and his name on it. And I said, I don't think this is going to work, bud, but good for you. And this was back before the day where you could print anywhere and cell phones. So it was a trek to the library if you needed to redo anything. And was intrigued with the industry. I learned very early on I was the world's worst employee. I did not fit corporate culture very well. So I figured I better do something on my own before they told me I should do something on my own. And began working in this industry because my parents had gotten screwed by their financial person. It always rubbed me the wrong way of how the outcome went there, just how the industry back then operated. It's a lot different now, but it's just a little old school mentality in that perspective. Started studying again, started working with a big box shop, resources, training, all of those pieces. And as we continued to grow, again, started to figure out how I wanted to run my company and my firm. We ended up getting to the point where I connected with a good buddy of mine who went into the same industry out of college, and then another friend of mine who I'd met through the industry, I think in the first month or two of joining the industry. And we said, hey, why don't we do our own thing? We have a very clear vision on how we want to design this. We should probably work together and create something where we own 100% of it and we can be in charge of how we work with our clients and how we design things. So it's been a wonderful road. Some bumps along the way for sure, but we've overcome those. We've gotten stronger. And I think the theme as I go through my life is I've just began to appreciate and be grateful for the people that God's put in front of me. And I had an ego. I thought I could do no wrong. I was immature in a lot of instances. And I just keep getting people around me that either hold me accountable, wrap me on the nose and say, hey, Kyle, this ain't good. This isn't right. Or partners or my wife. I don't even know if I'd be here without my wife right now. She's gotten me through tough stuff. I've gotten her through some things, and I cannot overemphasize the value of finding the right partner, whether it's in business, finding the right partner in life. Yeah, I was thinking and prepping for our call today, and that was the thing that has stood out to me is you need good partners in your life that you trust, that they trust you, you earn their trust, and your actions are back all of that up. So
it's not what you want to hear, it's what you need to hear. Just speaking the truth.
Yeah.
And you started the firm, I know, in 2020. And I remember you mentioned we had a conversation a few weeks ago about 97 discussed in 7 weeks. What was that about? Can you share that?
Oh,
97%.
Yeah. So yeah, in I don't know if it's all that important, but it was, I got into this industry for relationships. That's what drives me. I care about people. That doesn't always work out, right? Sometimes you put faith in the wrong human beings and sometimes it bites you, but that also helps you grow. But we were able to transition about 97% of our clients in about 7 weeks. So we were pretty proud of that metric at the time. It's been wonderful. I've had people that I've worked with for 15 years all the way. Yeah, I'm going on year 16 now. So it's been a fun road, and really hope that as I continue to grow, I can have some positive influence on the industry. I know there's some amazing people you've had on your podcast through here, and I know they're having impacts in their individual areas, and I just hope I can live up to that too.
Share with us why, if seeking you out or seeking someone out as a financial advisor, why that would be so important. Should they wait till I'm going to wait till I'm 45 years old and seek out someone? Just share with why any age, but probably a younger age, you want to start seeking out a financial advisor.
Oh, yeah. Just like anything, it's if you have questions in this space, humans are very good at making simple things complicated, as we can see through our IRS code, through how registrations in the investment world operate, how coordination of all these things fit together, and how one action can negatively impact another if you're not careful. I just said this today to a client. I said, I'm not in competition with other advisors. We need more. There's a lot of people out there that don't know what they're doing. They're missing out on things. And it is every American's obligation to pay only what they need to the government and not a penny more. And you got to take care of yourself. And you have an opportunity to set up yourself, your retirement life, your legacy to your family, friends, charities, whatever is important to you. And that's what we strive to do. If you have questions in this space, ask them. Most advisors get into this because they like people. They enjoy the industry, and life is like Monopoly. Those who read the rules win. And that's where I think everyone thinks that Monopoly is supposed to be this 3-hour game. It's supposed to only take 45 minutes, but because they don't know the rules. And so that impacts a lot of people, and the amount of money that's lost or wasted or inappropriately allocated to stuff is dramatic. And there's tons of studies out there. So for those that are scared of it, just call and ask questions. Most folks in our position just want to help, and it doesn't matter who it is. This isn't a plug for me. This is what's very legal, financial, and tax are the three main legs of your kind of foundation of your household when it comes to all the hard work you put in earning money. So why risk working for free, essentially, if you're giving away money that shouldn't be?
Well, Cal, I appreciate you sharing that for the listeners.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. So let's move on to what would be like the best advice that's ever been given to you, and why do you feel it was the best advice, and who gave it to you?
Oh man, that is tough because I've met so many good people.
And maybe you can just one or two that really stand out. I know.
I think I'm going to go with my wife in this one. When we got married, and I encourage any listeners that are looking to explore going down the marriage path, the transition of individuals to a true partnership is a hard one. It can be said a lot, but getting to a point where you blindly trust another human being with all of your dark secrets, all of your money, all of your actions. Me and Amanda went through a period where how do we divide and conquer the household? For a period, it was, I did the dishes today, now you got to do them. Or I did the laundry today, now you got to do them. And that's a scorecard. And a lot of folks I see, especially in my job, the blessing is I get to live 100 clients' lives without having to personally experience the mistakes, but I get to also act on the smart things they do. Mm-hmm. And finding the right partner and someone that is on the same team, truly believing that you're on the same team as you is become invaluable, right? And that's transitioned to my job. I have 2 business partners that they are my best friends. I trust them implicitly. If I died, they'd be taking care of my kids. Mm-hmm. And that takes time, but it's got to be honest time. There can be no selfishness in that. And that was really driven by my wife. So I'm going to give her the credit for that one of saying, hey, if we're going to build this vision that you have, I want to be a part of it, but I want to know how to support it. And she has every step of the way without question. I remember the first house we bought, we'd been looking forever, and I went down and our realtor had shown us 50 houses, and we saw one at the end of this cul-de-sac. I put in the offer, it got accepted, and I said, honey, we own a house. She goes, okay, let's go. And you don't find that very often, right? I can't even express how grateful I am for that.
All right. Shout out to your wife. Appreciate that. When have you had the most personal or like professional growth in your life, and what might have caused that?
I can actually think of a specific point. I was sitting with my business partner, Dan, and we had just gotten done with deer hunting, and we were actually butchering up the deer in the garage. And I asked him, I said, hey, is there anything that you think I can improve on as a person? And we were sitting there listening to some old rock and roll and cutting up deer. So I'm sure that kind of threw him off a little bit. And he sat there, and he's a very intelligent thinker. He takes a minute and he contemplates. He just doesn't throw it back. And he goes, you got to realize that other people have opinions and you're not always right. And that one has stuck with me forever. I try and approach problems, people, situations going, hey, all right, I may think I know what I'm talking about. I may even know what I'm talking about, but I gotta be open, and I'm not gonna help people towards the right answer. And I'm sure as heck not gonna make any friends if I'm shooting people down without even a second thought or considering where they're coming from on that. And I've learned a lot, and I would hope that the people around me have felt a difference in that. So that was a pivotal moment for me of saying, I'm, again, back to that ego thing, coming out of school, winning 3 championships, going on playing ball at college, doing all that stuff that just puts your ego on a pedestal, whether you want it or not intentionally, but it's just the nature of being in athletics sometimes, and being just in that space and coming out of it and just being a member of the community and really working for the greater good is something that I wish I would have slowed down a little bit and tried to work on sooner.
That kind of leads right to our finale here. Just, Kyle, some final thoughts that you want to leave with men as they continue on their journey. And it might be personally, professionally, or as I see it, sometimes that kind of blends together, personally and as well as professionally. But
yeah, I for the guys that I've met, not working for money, working for a passion, working to build something you care about and you're proud of, and whatever that may be. That's what we're working on building here, is saying this is something that people come in and they can feel that people care. A lot of people out there are making a lot of money. You're seeing it on social media. You're seeing what some of the problems with the young folk coming up was. Everything they do is about them. It's about, how does it benefit me? What can I get out of this? And that's a folly to chase. And as you get older, you start to realize, it's not working. Even if you do make some coin, it's an empty piece, because I've seen people die at 33. I have experienced people in my job that have a stroke in their early 40s, and they lose all of that. All that material stuff goes away, but the relationships and the people that care about you and that you care about, do they stick around if you run over a hurdle? That's the important part in life. And then when you're young, you think you're invincible and you're going to conquer the world. But as I've gotten older, I want people to come to my funeral. One, it's going to be a party, no sadness. And I want to be like, hey, he gave me a fair shake. He was a good guy and he was fun to be around. That's what I want people to remember me as. And my number one goal on this life is my family now. It is my kids. I want to teach them everything I can. I want to not put them in a bubble so that they go into the world with their eyes open and can walk in God and find their spouses and create that family that is strong and stable and will outlast. Yeah, I would say it's become selfless and create that community that you want to be a part of.
That's a wrap with Kyle Luebeck. And I want to thank you for being part of Men Pursuing More. And where can listeners follow you and your story?
Oh boy, I am on social media, but I do have my wife help me with that. My website's lghwealth.com. You can email me. I'll answer any questions. I'm always, and not even professionally, I'm always here to help anyone out there that has a question, even on the personal stuff we just did. If you want to get a hold of me, again, give me a call or give me an email and I'll help any way I can.
I'll let you get back to your family.
I appreciate you. You have a good night. And after tax season, let's get lunch.
Yeah, you bet. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Say hi to the family.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening to Men Pursuing More podcast. Don't forget to follow us at moffincoaching.com.